The first time I saw Amur falcons, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'd never seen so many birds of prey in one place. It was an incredibly thrilling moment. But at the same time, I also saw something deeply distressing. The little birds were being trapped and slaughtered by the thousands. Clearly, there was no time to lose. We had to act immediately to stop the massacre and save the falcons. My name is Bano Haralu, and I'm a journalist with a passion for conservation. I'm from Nagaland, a hilly state in India's far northeast. Like most Nagas, I belong to one of the 16 major tribes in the state and am proud of my cultural heritage. On festive occasions, we Nagas enjoy dressing up in our traditional costumes, and it's quite a sight. Hunting too is a strong part of our culture, and I'm sad to say that it is still widespread, despite being illegal. Most families in Nagaland cultivate crops and raise livestock to meet their needs. But despite this, Nagas have an immense craving for bushmeat that is steadily emptying our forests. As you can see, the long arm of the law doesn't quite reach this remote corner of India. So I wasn't exactly surprised by the capture or killing of Amur falcons, but the scale of it was absolutely shocking. Tens of thousands slaughtered every year during their annual migratory stopover. About the size of a kestrel, the Amur falcon is one of the smallest and prettiest birds of prey. The females and juveniles are light grey above with streaked underparts. Adult males are a darker grey with rufous-coloured thighs. These little raptors feed almost exclusively on insects and collectively consume billions of them. But what's even more remarkable is the extraordinary journey they undertake every winter in search of food. Flying from their breeding grounds in northern China and southern Russia, they travel all the way to South Africa, where they stay for a few months before heading back. This round trip of over 22,000 kilometers is the longest known migration by any bird of prey. One of the main staging posts for this incredible cross-continental journey is Nagaland, my home, in India's far northeast. The falcons rest here for a few weeks before flying non-stop to Africa. Although I had heard reports of Amurs migrating through my state, I only witnessed it in 2012. I'd also heard rumors of falcons being hunted and decided to launch an investigation with the help of a few colleagues. Besides me, the team consisted of Shashank, a wildlife biologist, Roko, a fellow Naga, and Ramki, co-founder of Conservation India and an accomplished wildlife photographer.
My name is Ramki Srinivasan, and I've been an avid birder and photographer for a long time. I was also really intrigued by the information coming out of Nagaland about Amur Falcons and was keen to get to the bottom of it. We were told that the Doyang reservoir in Woka district was full of falcons at this time of the year and decided to head there. As we approached Doyang, the first sight that greeted us wasn't live falcons, but bunches of dead ones being taken for sale in the local markets.
Scanning the surroundings, we saw thousands of falcons perched on high-tension wires across the Doyang Valley. And as we finally reached the reservoir, we were amazed to see tens of thousands more. Tearing ourselves away from this astonishing sight, we headed to the nearest village to try and learn about the extent of hunting. On the way, we met many hunters carrying hundreds of live falcons. At lakeside shacks, falcons were being plucked and prepared for a barbecue. It was heartbreaking to watch the beautiful birds in the trees one moment and see their stripped carcasses the next. When we finally reached Pankti village, there were more horrors in store. Everyone seemed to be involved in the Amur Falcon massacre, even the children. Every house we entered seemed to have falcons, alive, dead, or dying.
Speaking with the people of Pankti, the story began to unravel. The falcon hunters were actually fishermen who normally eked out a living by fishing in the Doyang River. But soon after the Doyang Dam was built in the year 2000, the falcons started congregating around the reservoir in huge numbers for reasons we don't fully understand. To the impoverished fishermen, this seemed like a heaven-sent opportunity to make some extra money, and they modified their fishing nets to trap the birds.
Throughout the day, the falcons are in flight or perched way up on electrical lines and out of reach. But every evening, they fly down to roost on trees around the reservoir. Taking advantage of this behavior, the fishermen erected large vertical nets near the trees, capturing the birds as they flew in and out of the roost. Every morning, the trappers returned to harvest the thousands of falcons caught in the nets. The cruelty inflicted on the dainty birds was unbearable to watch. Making inquiries, we learned that 70 trapping teams were operating in the area and had deployed about 700 nets near roosting trees. On an average, about 12,000 birds were being captured every day during the peak migratory season. This was clearly not subsistence hunting, but an organized commercial operation supplying other regions of Nagaland too. When we sat down to work out how many falcons were being killed, even our most conservative calculation was alarming. At least 120,000 were being harvested every season from this one area alone. Most of us blindly believe that indigenous communities always harvest their natural resources with restraint and wisdom. But the sad truth is, when commerce and profit entered the picture, no one seemed to care about sustainability. Horrified by what we had seen and learned, I called the senior-most government official in the area to tell him what was going on.
Amur Falcons. Yeah, we're calling you from the killing fields. We've just met with several hunters, each of them carrying like more than 200 birds.
We'd heard that a government order had been issued in 2010 banning the hunts, but clearly no one was enforcing it. It was time to put a stop to this illegal harvest. Upon seeing our photographs the next day, the district commissioner issued a follow-up order and sent it to all appropriate local officials and the headmen of all the surrounding villages. This one had the desired impact, and within days, thanks to the enforcement authorities, village council members and our volunteers, the nets were pulled down. Around this time, a campaign launched on Conservation India by Ramki and his team shook the conservation community around the world. A small bird that most people were unaware of until then suddenly hit the headlines everywhere. It was the year that India had signed the Convention on Migratory Species, and there was tremendous pressure on the government to walk the talk. As a result of all the negative publicity, the killings stopped and the falcons were guaranteed safe passage for the rest of the 2012 season. But to us, it was clear that a temporary respite was not enough. Something had to be done to protect the migrating birds in the long term. As a Naga myself, it was not too difficult for me to form a rapport with the local people. I used my powers of persuasion to convince them that the falcon hunts were bringing a bad name to Nagaland. Meanwhile, Ramki was busy setting up a program called Friends of the Amur Falcon.
With small grants from a few donors, we launched eco clubs in several local schools to teach children about nature and conservation. We wanted to get them to think about wildlife in a new way rather than just as food or something to hunt down for fun. We strongly believed that if we could capture the hearts and minds of the children, they would in turn influence the elders. Inspired by all this, the students created their own song about Amur falcons.
In 2013, we were all thrilled when the Chief Minister of Nagaland visited Doyang to see the migration and interact with our Eco Club students.
We are broadly educated society. We are no more primitive, and we can do without killing these beautiful animals. We can survive.
But the greatest breakthrough came about when the local fishermen finally decided to give up hunting falcons. Despite the loss of the extra money they made every winter, they banded together to set up an organization called the Amur Falcon Roosting Area Union to protect the birds. This and a particular incident I witnessed convinced me that change was truly in the air. While visiting a remote bank of the Doyang reservoir, we saw some falcons trapped in a discarded net. We alerted the roosting area union, and they dispatched one of their members to the spot immediately. The falcons were freed, and the net was removed. This is a heartwarming example of how former falcon hunters have taken ownership of their new role as protectors.
Here we are voluntarily protecting the birds, but before that we are all the fishermen and hunters. We request all the NGOs and government to give us some assistance in order to have this in preservation of these species.
Efforts are on to set up small ecotourism initiatives to provide an alternate income to those affected by the ban on hunting. So I invite you to come to Nagaland and help these ventures succeed. I believe that ecotourism will give local people a powerful incentive to protect all kinds of wildlife. For now, my colleagues and I are thrilled that the falcons can fly freely through Nagaland on their incredible journey to South Africa.
When we uncovered the mass killings of falcons back in October 2012, I wondered if a decade-long practice could be stopped. This is where it made all the difference to have a respected local person on the team. Thanks to Banu's deep understanding of regional sensibilities, we received unstinting support and cooperation from all sections of Naga society. The district commissioner's immediate action in banning the hunting was a huge shot in the arm, as was the political will shown by the Chief Minister of Nagaland. But the most crucial of all was the cooperation of the local community, particularly the fishermen. Their resolve to stop the falcon hunts helped bring the curtain down on one of the most horrific massacres in India's conservation history.
In a world where conservation success stories are increasingly rare, the campaign to save the Amur falcon has had a positive impact, and we are seeing larger and larger numbers arriving every year. But since there is no room for complacency in conservation, the team and I are already making plans for the next season. We hope that more people will join us in this mission. If all of us work together, I'm sure we can safeguard Nagaland's unique wonder of nature, the largest and greatest gathering of Amur falcons in the world.